So Larry and Scott are joining us here today. They're part of a team, an IT team that built a very cool internal app called Delight for Salesforce. You want to tell us a little bit about it?
I don't think I can be heard.
Larry's mic isn't on.
How about now? Yes. So we created this app for internal application where the users, or mainly AEs, can manage their opportunities and quotes. It's on Salesforce 1. We're using Angular, and the challenge we had was making a tool that the users, the AEs, can easily use, track their quotes and opportunities, and move forward in a mobile way. So this is the app. Oh, I can see that. We go into the menu itself. The application is called Delight. The naming is kind of interesting, but that was the name of the project. You see your opportunities. The opportunities are pretty much the most recent opportunities the AE has that are open. Then you click on the opportunity, and you have the options of looking at the most recent quotes associated with the opportunity. They can select a quote that's already created, or they can create a new quote. So in this case, we're creating a new quote, and we're able to use the products that already exist on the quote, select, change some items like the date, and select items that are on the quote by adding counts. So that's what Scott's doing here. He's adding a count to the assets that are already created. So this is an add-on quote. The user's already created, or the customer's already created, the customer's already active, and we're adding licenses. So after that's done, the quote is created, and we created the quote in a very summarized way as far as the stages from top to bottom. First, you have the summary of the quote, which has account information, opportunity information, stuff like that, and the user is able to go in and edit it. So that's what the pencil means. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 showing the different stages of the quote, and each stage has certain actions that can be performed on it. So we're going to go into billing. We're going to adjust some of the fields, the values. And all this is using Angular on the back end. Then we're going to go approve the quote. This takes a while because there's a lot going on behind the scenes. And the quote's being approved. There are multiple actions going on in the background due to limitations for governor limits and stuff like that, so multiple things are happening, and the quote is approved. All right? And notice that after it's been approved, it's locked. It can no longer be approved. It's already been approved, and now we're going to publish it. This publishing action is actually going out to DocuSign and creating a DocuSign envelope and sending it to the contact that was selected. The user is able to scroll through the messaging and even edit the messaging in this window before sending it to DocuSign, and then the user receives it. At the bottom afterwards, you can see that it's already been published and it can no longer be published again. All right, that's pretty much it. I probably flew through 5 minutes there, didn't I?
No, we got 1:30, so we have some time to talk about it and ask some questions. So this was built as part of an internal project, so it came from a specific business request.
Yes, as part of the Delight project, which is where this name comes from, we're revamping the internal quoting and opportunity tools. And so this was the Salesforce 1 portion of that whole project.
Okay. And so it's tied into Salesforce approvals, it's tied into existing DocuSign.
Yes.
We already have that, that's something we use internally.
Yeah. We leveraged a lot of what we already had for that.
So how long did this take, or how many devs on your team, and how long did it take for this to develop?
We've got 5 developers on our team, and it took a month to get the main functionality working, and then we tinkered with it for another month or so to get all the bugs and making it look as clean as it does. So that was one of the challenges, is really making it look clean so the user doesn't get confused as they go through the various screens.
And when are we rolling this out? Because this is a big project. We've got a pretty large end user, mobile user for our sales team
Right.
base.
So this is an internal app, and it's going to be rolled out, we believe, right now in March.
March?
Yes.
Okay.
So.
Very cool.
All right.
Any last feedback or about how is it to build on in the S1 mobile container, anything like that?
No, it's just all Angular. Angular was a fun challenge. I would suggest getting out there and starting to use Angular.
Awesome. Let's hear it for Larry and Scott.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. So it looks like we're filling out a little bit more. Hopefully everyone's awake. I'm sure everyone was home in their hotels by like 6 p.m. or so yesterday. No one stayed out late. No one went to the reception. Thanks again for stopping by. This is Demopalooza. So what we're doing here is showcasing Salesforce One apps, talking about how they were built, and some of them are going to be available on the App Exchange as well because they're a part of the Salesforce Labs program. Does anyone know what Salesforce Labs is? Has anyone downloaded a free Labs app off the App Exchange? Awesome. So we actually just recently had a big contest internally around Labs to have employees build out some really cool apps based on just what they thought we needed to have in the ecosystem for S1 Mobile. And so they've been publishing those on the App Exchange and making those available. So a number of the apps that we have today were part of that contest. And actually our next presenter, you may recognize him from YouTube videos that Benioff usually retweets and all of that, and his like really energetic demo videos and some of the really cool UI stuff he's done. He's a member of our sales engineering organization, and he builds some of the coolest apps that I've ever seen. And so please welcome John Brunswick up to the stage. John, I feel like you're ready to go straight to the luau after this.
There we go. Yeah, so way to keep the bar low, by the way. That was fantastic. So what I show better be incredibly impressive.
Yeah, no big deal, no big deal.
So one of the things that I did was I actually created a suite of applications for S1 that integrate together. And the premise was, if I was a rep in the field, what were some tools that I could leverage to just make my day easier? And with my existing skill set, I basically had like a web design, web development type of background. Mm-hmm. I was totally new to S1, and I was able to use the skills that I had to just go in and start working with S1. So what I'll share with you guys is an application that actually pulls together news information for accounts that somebody's recently viewed or companies that they're going to be meeting with. So it's one of those things when I don't know what you guys order at Starbucks, but I have some friends that order the real fancy, big, long-name drinks. And when you're standing in line waiting for it, I created an application called Gist. And what Gist does, this is actually all jQuery mobile, but what it's doing is that it's reaching back to a Heroku application. And the Heroku application is a Node.js application using a Postgres database to basically pull together all of that news information. So behind the scenes, it periodically goes out and crawls Twitter using Twitter's API, as well as an API from a company called Faru. And Faru aggregates over a whole series of news sources. So what we can see here is that toward the top, I can literally just swipe my finger over it to look at all of the latest and greatest of what's going on. And as I slide down the list, I get a sense, actually, I'm using a sentiment analysis library. I get a sense based on the color of those icons. Did anything really good happen with that company or really, really bad? Based on how blue the little Twitter icon is, that's showing the overall volume of the Twitter information. So as an example, let's find a good company. I think Salesforce might be interesting to look at. So if we take a look at Salesforce, we'll actually be able to see how frequently Salesforce has been in the news, the top tweets, as well as all of the top news. So it's taking into account not like every news item or every tweet, just the top ones. And so we can see here, I don't know how recent some of this is, it looks like 17 hours ago. We could see how much it's been retweeted and we can slide down and actually start to look at news articles from across a whole range of different sources. And again, that's a Node.js app that behind the scenes periodically goes out and interacts with those external APIs. And that is it. That is just, I guess one last item. What's pretty neat is because we understand the sentiment, how much things are being shared, and the Salesforce data, we can filter in some cool ways. So I could actually filter news basically saying deals that I'm in negotiation with, just show me news for that. Or companies that maybe had a really great event, show that.
So can you do that based on any records you have for standard or custom objects? So like my accounts or my opportunities, but then also if you're tracking any names or something in custom objects, is that something you can do as well?
You absolutely could. So
That's awesome.
The cool part about going on App Exchange is that it's all going to be open source. So it got security approval. Thank you. It got security approval. And after Dreamforce, give me a little bit to finalize the install docs, and we're good to go.
Awesome.
So all open source.
Perfect. So again, this is part of Salesforce Labs. And so this component of your overall product is called GIST. But what is the name if everyone wants to look on the App Exchange and find your app? What is it called?
You guys are going to want to look for the Salesforce One Ignition Pack. So you've got to be super cool with names here. That's just part of it.
Super cool. It's got to be like fire impacted.
Ignition Pack. So give me a little bit post Dreamforce, and it'll be available for everybody, all open source.
I kind of hoped, so John was very enthusiastic during the contest, and we're really excited to see his final product. And he gave me a little hint during the contest that he was doing some marketing. I was expecting to see your Ignition t-shirt. He actually made t-shirts as part of his product. Great internal marketing.
Well, I see there's like t-shirt printing over there. I mean, with
you can go print some out.
There are no barriers anymore, right? There are no technology barriers. So like, just go with what feels good and go do it. So.
Very cool. Well, thank you so much for showing us your app. I guess we got like 50 more seconds. Do you want to talk about, I know that you ran into when you were building, figuring out like kind of the best technology to use, because there are a few different paths you can go down when you're building an S1 mobile container. Do you want to talk at all about maybe stuff that came up while you were building?
Yeah.
Impart any knowledge here?
The cool thing is that you have a nice JavaScript library to interact with all of the navigation functions, etc. You can pretty much take a standard toolkit and leverage it within S1 mobile. So I did need to there were some tweaks that I did, and those will be probably in notes of what I release.
Very cool.
But other than that, it was pretty smooth sailing.
Yeah, it looks great.
Thank you.
It looks great. Well, thank you very much, John. We really appreciate it. Let's hear it for John.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
So while we're lining up our next speaker here, so it sounds like we had a few people who have downloaded Labs apps before. Has anyone built an app yet in the S1 mobile and S1 mobile app? How about any mobile app, or do you have any mobile app developers here? HTML5, native, awesome. So hopefully this will be, we've got some booths around here around kind of developer toolkit stuff for developing for S1, and we actually have some great sessions coming up for responsive design. We've got a Everything You Really Wanted to Know When Developing on S1 Mobile session by Jason Venable from AeroPoint, which I highly recommend if you're interested in building out a mobile app. It really is everything you really wanted to know. So it's all the stuff that's not necessarily, detailed online, but stuff you run into when you may be building out. Looks like we're ready for our next presenter. This is another John. We've got John Brock lining up here, getting ready to go. So let's give them all a big, looks like Elvis is coming on stage today. Elvis is coming on stage. Big round of applause.
You need the Kool-Aid, baby.
Woo!
I'm gonna send you.
I think we need coffee stands everywhere.
Thank you for the introduction. Wow. Is this loud out here? It sounds loud up here. Anyway, all right. So, who out there has used IFTTT? If this, then that. One, two, couple people. Right. So, who loves it, right? The same people probably. It's really cool. It's basically a service where you can create your own web hooks, your own integrations. And so I was like, why can't I do this on Salesforce? This is what I need in my org. So what I did for the Salesforce One Labs contest
Yes.
was I built an app called Notify Me. So what Notify Me is a personal workflow engine. So end users in your org can now define their own workflows, their own notification rules to get the information they need, when they need, where they need. All right, so let's take a look. So I am Mark, and I am an account executive, and I'm managing GenePoint. I'm going to look at GenePoint, and as an account exec, I need to know when the upsell opportunity is true. Because if that upsell opportunity is true, I need to call that account and close that deal today. All right, so I'm going to pick any field here. So you've got account description, account name, blah, blah, blah. We're going to scroll down to the bottom, upsell opportunity. I'm going to select that. I'm going to give it a quick name, upsell opportunity. Call now. Right, so I need to remind myself what I'm supposed to do when I get this. All right, so then I have comparison operators. So then I can compare the upsell opportunity to a predefined value. So this could be a Boolean, this could be a numerical value, this could be a text field, anything you want. So I'm going to say equals yes. All right, so that's great. And then now I want to be notified via email and SMS. So I'm going to choose both of those options. When I do that and click submit, that rule has been created. So as an end user, I've created that workflow rule for myself. So now if I look at the related detail page, you can see my Notify Me notification rule. Here are all my rules for this object. You create workflow rules per object, per user. That's very powerful. From this page, I can also toggle these on and off. So I could enable or disable these if I wanted. I'm going to leave that active. But now, Mary, she's also working on the same account, except she's a service rep, right? So she's managing GenePoint as well. But when she goes to her mobile app and looks at GenePoint, she's more concerned about the number of cases. Because as a service rep, if the number of cases reaches a certain level, then she knows there's probably a problem with that account. So she's going to go to GenePoint as well. Number of cases is going to be a roll-up summary field on the account object. And so this is Mary. She's creating her own Notify Me notification rule. All right, so this is cases are high. All right, so now we scroll down here and we find number of cases, right? So this is a numerical value, roll-up summary field. I'm going to say greater than or equals to, and let's just say 50. Once the number of cases gets to 50, she needs to find out.
There we go.
So I'm on this second phone. So I'm on the DVI. All right, little technical difficulty. But you saw me create that. As Mary, I'm going to create a SMS notification. I'm going to click done. That's going to get saved. It's all right. We don't need to worry about this. So now what I am going to do, though, is I'm going to flip back to my laptop. So this is me in the office. This is John Brock. I'm making an update.
So just while we get set up here, this is an app that also was part of
the Salesforce One Labs
So this
contest.
is something as we get, people can see and get their hands on today, right?
They can. You can go to the App Exchange, download this today. I will make the caveat, you probably don't want to put this in your production org yet.
Right.
It's still early, still testing it out, things like that.
But maybe you could install it in your dev org, play with
Check
it
out
a
the
little
code.
bit, check out.
Exactly.
Very cool.
So this is John. I'm logged in. Now for demo purposes, I'm going to make this 55 cases. And then now my upsell opportunity is yes, because GenePoint wants to buy another better level of service. So now, in theory, Mark and Mary are going to get different notification rules because they've set up their own personal workflows. So I'm going to save that. That gets saved. And then, if we flip back to my phone here, Mark's phone, you'll see, wait for it, boom, I got a text message from Salesforce
Nice.
based on my own workflow for Mark that my opportunity upsell matched that criteria. Right? So
Yeah.
this is great because now I can choose what I want to get notified on when I want to get notified. Right? So I also got the email for this. Right? So this is great. Push notifications are in the works, but the other cool feature is you have the deep link here. So then I can deep link directly from my text message notification back into Salesforce
Into
One.
the mobile app.
Exactly.
Very cool. Now you showed this for cases and opportunities. Is this something when people install in their sandbox or their dev to play with? What objects does it work on?
So that's the benefit of this. Works on any object, any standard or custom object. Works out of the box. There is a slight bit of code that you need to work on, but it is basically copy and paste. So if we look at a very quick example, this is car custom object. All you have to do is write one trigger with one line trigger. One Visualforce page to create the actual MDP action. You then add that to the page layout. And then one page for the rule list. This code you can get from the existing rule, copy and paste that, change one field, change the standard controller. Even an admin that's never seen Visualforce before can do this. You change one thing in this page, and then you can implement that for any object in your org.
Very cool. So how long did this take you to build?
So I built this in probably 48 to 65 hours.
Nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
so it's very quick. Like that's very powerful workflow for start to finish for something like this in that amount of time.
Absolutely. What was the impetus for this? What made you want to build this?
So basically, like I said, IFTTT, I have all these rules set up for my Twitter, for my Facebook, my blog, and basically, as a former member of the admin team at Salesforce, admins are just inundated with workflow requests. They need particular things for individual users, but you don't have that option. This allows any user to make their notification rule and workflow that user needs.
This is great. I want this on all my Salesforce orgs.
Exactly.
For sure. So I get those push notifications.
Yeah.
Because that'll go alongside my FTT rule, which is send me when I need to pack an umbrella.
Exactly.
I think that's the most that I have set
Same
up.
thing. Now you don't have to read through your digest. You get the notifications that you want.
Very cool. Well, looks like we're getting the time.
All
Thank
right.
you so much for showing us Notify Me, available on the App Exchange. So I think we're going to be welcoming back to the stage, welcoming back to the stage in a moment here, John Brunswick. In the meantime, has anyone had a chance to check out the admin zone yet? Do we have any admins in the crowd at all? Anyone who is a declarative developer, point and click admin? We do have some pretty fun stuff, even for our developers out there. We have some pretty fun stuff going on in the admin zone today. There's superhero stickers, there's pins. We had a developer admin meetup yesterday. Pretty fun. How about the Internet of Things? Has anyone played with some robots so far during Dreamforce? Some drones, some amphibious drones, although unfortunately we can't fly the copters inside. Something about liability or flying into people. Very cool. So I think we're about ready here. We're going to welcome back up to the stage Mr. John Brunswick to show us another component from his Salesforce One Ignition. See, that's a big bag of dongles there.
Yeah.
Lots of cords and
Once you forget your first dongle, you're not going to forget it again.
Oh yeah,
So,
yeah, I hear that.
so I figured, Leanne, if it's okay, I'm going to change gears a little bit. This is not going to be the
Whatever you
S1
want. No
pack.
rules here. It's
I'm going to
Demopalooza.
get a little bit crazy. So on my laptop, I actually have an iBeacon.
Okay.
And this is something that I like to do just to show the flexibility of what we can do and to let you guys in the audience interact with it. So hopefully, this is recently cooked up, so hopefully no smoke comes out of the laptop and everything runs okay. But I have an application on my phone here, and I'm going to go ahead and turn on my Bluetooth. And what happens is it actually gives me the proximity to my laptop on my phone. The way that it's doing this, it's actually connecting to a Heroku application that is running Node.js. And so if everything is going to plan, which maybe it isn't, there we go. It'll actually respond to my movements. And as I get close to the laptop, it'll actually update. It's doing all of that again with sockets. It was connecting back to Heroku. And this is where I need your guys' help, though. I need you guys to take out your mobile and hop over to that URL. So if you could, just take a moment and give it a shot, because what we're going to do is we're going to look at real-time interactions made possible by sockets running in a Node.js app in Heroku. The cool thing, again, is that if you've done kind of web work before, you get all of the access to everything you normally do on the web, but now you can interact real time. Oh, cool. We've got some people coming in. Welcome, Alex. Good to see you, sir. And so as you guys log in, you'll actually see your name pop up here again. That's all driven by sockets. So underneath the covers, it's giving us the ability to do things in Salesforce real time. It's very straightforward to be able to do. So we'll give it another second, let a couple more folks log in. And actually, Leanne, are you on it?
Yeah, what should I sign up as? Is it Cowboy Harry Potter?
Could you go to /control on the URL? Okay. Just put /control. Because, guys, I've had a long week, and I'm kind of lazy, so I'm going to let Leanne drive the application from her phone, if that's okay. Are you okay with that?
No problem.
Awesome.
Okay, there we go.
Sweet.
Dancing Llamas is here. That's great.
Could you hit the next button, Leanne? Look at that. Okay, so Leanne just drove the application. I'm being lazy over here. And as you guys look back down at your mobiles, you should hopefully see voting options. And as you start to vote, it'll actually change in real time in the application. I've got client-side, standard HTML client-side, but the sockets are communicating and sending your responses back through and up to the client here. So it's pretty cool, just thinking about possibilities, right? It's possibilities. Could you go one slide further?
Yep.
Nice. All right, guys, this is of course, these are, like I said, I cooked this up very recently just for fun. What do you got? Oh, wow. You guys are good. You guys are on top of it.
You guys have Angry Birds fans here.
We're going to have to do an Angry Birds in the labs, I guess. But what's cool here again, keep in mind, it's just these principles of what we can do. And let's see how you guys are doing on this survey here. I see a lot of Angry Birds. Ooh, okay. Well, Angry Birds, again, we're going to have to put that on the roadmap. But I think it's a cool way to show the flexibility with Salesforce, because it's not, it's the languages that you might be using on the web today. These are technologies that are new for communication, and it's really cool what, you can be as creative as your imagination.
Right. There's a lot of implications for how you could use something like this. This would be fun for our sessions right now to have some real-time polling in the backstage.
Well,
see how we're doing.
So I was actually going to create my session yesterday using this, and it's all built by Force, so it's a presentation application Force. And after working on it a whole weekend, I was told that connectivity might be spotty. So
I know.
So I didn't end up doing that. But again, I hope that it's kind of a neat showcase of how we can use these tools. Because think about like service. Think about real-time kind of Q&A back to an expert, and it connects also Salesforce with your own applications. What I have here in the client is my own application.
Right, very cool. So what are some other implications you think would be fun for this, or applications that would be fun for this?
Well, I think about anything related to like vehicles and shipping to be able to get a sense. You could basically create an Uber-style experience for some things using this, right? And it's just that real-time communication element.
Yeah, absolutely. This is really cool. I didn't even know. I haven't even seen this yet. This is awesome. This is a great surprise.
I figured I would. Well, it is Demopalooza.
Although I do think we definitely need some Angry Birds now. That's got to be next step on the. If anyone wants to build an open source Salesforce One Angry Birds, maybe an Easter egg, an Angry Birds Easter egg, like in the Salesforce A app. Very cool. So it looks like we're up for time. Thank you so much, John. This is awesome.
If anybody needs dongles, you know where to find
A whole bag of tricks. So, did anyone participate in Hackathon this past weekend? Dreamforce 14 Hackathon. So you're going to be back here for judging, right? We've got final judging and presentations today for our Dreamforce 14 $1 million hackathon. It's going to be here on this stage from 11 to 12:30. There's some really, if you were around this weekend and you saw any of the preliminary presentations that went through, there's some really interesting apps being built out there. So if you're going to be around, I highly suggest hanging out here. It'll be pretty much right after this Demopalooza, but it'll be from 11 to 12:30. So we'll be showcasing those apps and seeing what our hackathon participants have built and all of that. So it'll be pretty cool. All right, I think we're queuing up for our next. It's very hot up here in this cape. Capes are hotter than they look, I think. I couldn't stick with the hat. I couldn't stick on theme with the cowboy Harry Potter theme, or I guess it's Professor Snape Harry Potter or cowboy theme. So we do have. Let's see, who do we have coming up next? Gavin. Awesome. So we have another beautiful mobile app to check out. Great. We have Gavin coming on stage with Salesforce One to SharePoint migrator. Welcome, Gavin. I can't hear you guys.
Testing.
There we go.
Okay, great. I think we're okay. So good morning, my name is Gavin. And you've seen some great mobile applications from the two Johns. They're a tough act to follow this morning. But I wanted to show you, for my customers who are Microsoft SharePoint users, and I'm sure there's quite a few of you out there, how to make those applications mobile on Salesforce One once I log in. So it's quite difficult, traditionally speaking, to... Let me just... One second while I... All right. This will be fun.
We have the right screen here on the teleprompter. There we go.
Is that okay? Okay. Oh. Forgive us. Some screen issues.
So while they start that, do you want to tell us what team you're a part of, Gavin?
Yep, so I'm part of the Enterprise Architects team based out of Dublin in Ireland, so I support the UK and Ireland. And again, I speak to many customers around the use case where they have existing Microsoft SharePoint environments and they want to migrate them to Salesforce One. Excellent. So curious, why is there a SharePoint screen looking at you right now? We have a new feature in winter this year called Files Connect, which allows Salesforce customers to connect their Microsoft SharePoint environments into Salesforce. So if I have an attachment in a Salesforce record, for example, a lead, an account, an opportunity, I can reach into my SharePoint environment, pull in some unstructured content, and associate those two. And that's for the file scenario use case. However, what about situations, which again is quite common among SharePoint users, where you have list data, expenses, timesheets, structured data living in a SharePoint world? How can I give a business user or business analyst who likes SharePoint the chance to road test Salesforce One? And that's the premise or thesis behind this demo I'm going to show you. Okay? So I'm doing this on two ways. So I want to quickly show you, I built a solution on Microsoft SharePoint. It is called, it's a SharePoint feature that will be on Codeplex for Microsoft developers. It'll also be on the Salesforce Labs for you to actually download and install. It's also on GitHub. And you'll see in the SharePoint environment you have what are called SharePoint features. And in this SharePoint instance, I have what's called the Force.com road test application. Okay, just to show you the background. It's just down here. So a SharePoint administrator can enable this feature once you've installed it into a SharePoint farm. Now what does that do? Well, what it does is it makes structured list data you have in SharePoint ready for migrating into Salesforce One. So let me give you an example. I have a list here called timesheets, into which members of a project team or members of some organization are inserting XML files or timesheets relating to a project or a series of projects. On the list ribbon toolbar up here, I have what's called Upgrade to Salesforce One. That's quite tongue-in-cheek, but you get the idea. I want to give a business user the chance to see how Salesforce One behaves. Upgrade to Salesforce One. So in the SharePoint environment, you now have a native migration tool, again, which you can download and install. Do you want to make your application mobile? Do you want to make it reportable, social, searchable, etc.? Absolutely. Click on next. So the idea here again is the business person can do this themselves without having to necessitate a developer to do it for them. Click on the next with my wizard. I'll call my application in Salesforce 1 timesheets. Sheets. I want to put in some blurb. I want to say enable reporting, make it social, i.e. enable chatter on my application, and of course track activities. Click on next. So in the background, what's happening is Microsoft SharePoint, through my extension, is creating a Salesforce application. So for one application, a Salesforce custom object is creating the fields from my SharePoint list and mapping those into Salesforce 1 fields. It's also creating reports and report types. And now, of course, my application is Salesforce 1 enabled. Let me have a look at what it looks like. Let me go into Salesforce 1. I'll actually come out of that. Yep. Screen size. Okay, so here's a browser window with my Salesforce instance. I got a link back on my SharePoint environment saying here's your link to your new application on Salesforce 1. If I quickly refresh this screen, I should see on the right hand side a new application has just been created for me. It's called the Timesheet app. There's my custom object. Obviously I have chatter enabled. I click on the go button. It also, of course, brought my data in, not just my application definition. It actually brought in the physical data from the SharePoint list. It also created the object types. If you look at the definition for my Salesforce object running in my timesheet application on Salesforce, I have my fields for my SharePoint list. All the attributes in my SharePoint world is now mapped into my Salesforce 1 world.
So how would devs get their hands on this today? Is this something that people can access today if they're using SharePoint and S1?
They can get it on GitHub. It'll be on the Salesforce Labs within a couple of weeks once I fix up some of the issues I have with it, all right?
So another Salesforce Labs app, and it's on Git now?
Yep.
Perfect.
Absolutely.
Awesome. So it'll be on Labs, and what will be listed on Labs under, just so we can just SharePoint for S1?
Yes, it'll be called the S1 app, the SharePoint app migrated for S1. Okay?
Very nice.
And the final piece is I've also created a publisher action, which should be up there. Oh. The reason that it's not
Oh, did we get the... Well, I see it on this screen, the publisher action. There we go. Okay, nice. So that automatically created the new publisher action for what you were doing in SharePoint.
So it created the application, created the custom object, created the data, created the reports. It created a custom publisher action also. And as you see, even the select list or pick list options from SharePoint are also mapped across that environment.
So if you're not familiar, if you haven't used publisher actions before, what we're seeing right now is the publisher action in the Salesforce desktop, so in the browser, but that's a mobile action as well. So that means with that migration that you just did, you actually created a mobile app because there's that seamless port to mobile, right? So that publisher action would be part of that publisher button on your Salesforce 1 mobile app. So that's pretty cool. That was very fast. Well, we're getting the blinking light. We're getting the sign. Thank you so much for showing us.
And there you see, just before you go, there you see your mobile application running in Salesforce 1.
Oh, there we go. Perfect.
A SharePoint list. In the case of 3 clicks, in about 2 minutes, you've actually made the application mobile, social, and reportable.
Can you show us the action real quick? Because it'll look awesome.
If I go back to feed.
How long did this take you to build, Gavin?
It took about 2 weeks. Again, just in response to customers asking me, how do I make a SharePoint list mobile? How do I make it social? And that's how you do it.
Nice.
Okay.
Very cool. Let's hear it for Gavin. Very nice. Do we have Mr. John Brunswick coming to join us again? Well, obviously needs no introduction since I've introduced him twice so far. He's awesome. We're excited to see what he's going to show us next. Let's give it up for John Brunswick. So, John, what are we going to see this time?
That's some pretty intense music, and I probably should have saved the last one for this one, but we're going to dip back into the S1 Ignition Pack suite. So we'll be looking at some more of those applications in S1.
So this is another application that's going to be available on the App Exchange under Salesforce One Ignition. So this is another component. How many components did you build out as part of that application?
I want to say 5, approximately.
So it's just a really simple, like 1 or 2 functionality app, it sounds like.
Well, the thing is, so each one is pretty quick to build, and that's
Yeah.
part of it, right? You get excited, you say, oh, but if I only had 30 more minutes, I could do this extra thing.
Right.
And so it's a little bit, I don't know.
So if users are installing S1 Ignition when it's on the App Exchange under Salesforce One Labs,
Yep.
they can kind of pick and choose. It's the buffet, right? They can pick and choose what they want to implement for their mobile users.
Yeah, so they could basically, you're going to get everything, and then you enable or disable whatever you want.
Perfect.
And so what I'm working on, I don't know if you guys have seen the Heroku button. I'm also working on taking the Heroku part and making that the one-click button.
Nice.
So fingers crossed.
That'll be
Oh,
1.2,
I like
Ignition
Awesome.
1.2.
Oh, it's totally cool.
Okay, very.
Nice. That works. All right.
So you can probably unplug it too if it'd be easier for you to keep it where you want it.
Perfect.
There we go.
You know, I'm probably not a good hand model, so I apologize to everybody. But let's go ahead and hop back into S1.
You didn't get your Dreamforce manicure?
No, that was the one. You know what? I was so close, but I just didn't have time. So now you guys know it's totally live, by the way. And if you see any notifications pop up, I totally apologize.
Everyone text John Brunswick right now.
Oh, man. Let's just make sure. There we go. So what we're going to look at 2 things real quickly. One of them, remember we looked at news information. How could we take that and bring that into a totally new context? So what I've done is taken mapping and allowed you to be able to map accounts where you have opportunities, but to filter it in unique ways. So one of the apps is called Magellan. And what we're going to see is that it's a traditional mapping app, something you would expect when you open your mobile and go to do mapping. But it also allows you to filter based on social things. And what that means is that if a company just had a merger and an acquisition, or if they had an adverse event for some reason, you would actually be able to filter by that in the map. So, and we'll...
You come up with some pretty good app names here. We've got Gist, Magellan, Ignition.
Well, you know what? Sadly, I actually probably put too much thought into that. Like, I'll be like banging my head on a desk for half an hour trying to think about it. So the Wi-Fi is a little bit. We'll give it another shot here. Trust me, it looks awesome though. I will describe it if it doesn't come up here. Fingers crossed.
Maybe if you get off the Wi-Fi and get on the. That worked for me yesterday.
Nice. All right.
As we triage here a little bit.
We're going to manual
That might
mode.
be better. We're doing it live.
Oh, look at that.
Perfect.
There we go. All right. Hey, AT&T, forget my Wi-Fi. So what I've done here, what we're looking at is it's geolocated a bunch of accounts with opportunities. And for each of the pins, what I've done is the size of the pin actually represents the amount of opportunity within that account. So the really neat thing is that you can do, because it's just HTML at the end of the day and CSS, you can do whatever makes sense based on those attributes for the object. So let's go ahead and filter, and what we'll do is we'll flip to social mode and we'll submit. And what's going to happen in just a second here is the pins theoretically actually change into social indicators.
So can you determine on that the size of the pot of gold of each opportunity? Can you determine what field you want that on if you're using like different fields like expected revenue or probability revenue, or does it already automatically go off of an amount?
You definitely can.
Okay.
And so what I'll do here, we'll skip the social thing. It looks like it's taking its time there. But what we're also able to do, because in S1 I mentioned the frameworks, the JavaScript frameworks, you can easily navigate to other objects. So instead of your traditional map pin, I have the ability to actually go look at the opportunity, look at the contacts, but I can also tap to look at the news. So it's something that somebody might not think about right away, but you're going to see an account, we go into Gist directly from the map, we can hop then right back to the map. So it's nice and kind of seamlessly integrated. So it also does driving directions and other things. real quickly, I'll share with you guys one other thing. So there's also a list-based view, but what the list view does is it also takes into account skill set. So what we're seeing here is we're seeing the news come in again, right? The color indicating how negative or positive the news is. But we see this like orange dot underneath connected monitoring. And what the orange dot means, if we were really skilled for what that opportunity was, it would go green.
Okay.
But here we're kind of like, we need to learn some stuff. And if I tap on it, this, by the way, is one of my favorite names for the apps. It brings up deal fuel. Like, who doesn't want deal fuel, right? That's not, I want to get deal fuel. And what it does is it's doing it based on our profile. So if you had a learning information management system, that would actually dictate how much of a skill match there is for the products. And let's say you needed to study up. Well, you could open what's called a cram session. And in the cram session, you basically get cheat sheets for the given product that you might need to study up on. And you can also take quizzes. So we could go in and we could say, you know what, I want to take a quick quiz, tap to start, and it's all swiping based. So we swipe left and right to do the quiz. And that's it.
So these are quizzes that can be managed in Salesforce too? That's awesome.
So it's all force.com. Behind the scenes, all the management is force.com.
That's beautiful. Well, we're getting the light, but thank you. Is this our last demo with you today?
It is.
So let's give an extra big round of applause for John Brunswick. Thank you. Salesforce One Ignition on the App Exchange. Do we have walkout music for our last demo of the day for Demopalooza? No? Okay. Awesome. Well, let's welcome Jerome. Oh, maybe we do.
Shimmy, 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 yeah. Shimmy, 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 yeah. Shimmy, 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 yeah. Shimmy, shimmy, yeah, shimmy, yeah. Oh, baby, we like it raw. Yes, baby, we like it raw. Oh, baby, we like it raw.
So, actually, in our last demo, we saw a good use case for this demo. Has anyone ever had limited connectivity and they want to access their data offline and access all their Salesforce One offline? So can we make this show what's on the teleprompter? We've got the correct screen on the teleprompter. Perfect. Great. So I'll introduce, this is Jerome. Jerome has built out Salesforce One offline. I'll let you introduce yourself and your demo.
Hi, so my name is Jerome Castan. I'm working as an IC in France. And as I saw many customers, we saw that they wanted to more and more to have very simple functional, very simple offline functionality. So today, what I'm going to show you is I'm going to be a sales rep, and I'm going to show you how you can enter offline data within Salesforce
Let's just use this
when you have no network coverage.
Sorry to pause you. Let's just, if that's not working, let's just do this again because it worked for the last one. Sorry about that. And let's switch over to the device projector.
Okay.
Perfect.
Great. So today I'm going to be a sales rep working for ABC company, and my company is providing services to a luxury hotel in France, in Paris, and I've got a couple of meetings planned today. So thanks to the latest version of Salesforce One, I'm going to have the ability to access the information offline without even any network coverage that I'm simulating right now with the plain mode. And so you can see I've got access to my account Hotel Le Meurice, which is really a great hotel in Paris. So if you have the opportunity to go there, please try this one. And so I can review the information about my account, do my meeting, and during this meeting I've encountered new important stakeholders. We've talked about very important point on my business, and I want to make sure I enter them in Salesforce One until it's fresh in my mind. So what I'm going to do, I'm offline from the account, I'm going to create a new meeting minutes. So I'm going to enter some information about that minute, and then I'm going to save them locally on the iPhone. Then I've met that new important person. It's going to be the decision maker, so I'm going to create a new contact again in Salesforce One in offline mode. As you can, for the demo purpose, I'm just going to enter the first name and last name. But of course, you could add much more fields. Okay. So now we've just created minutes and a new contact while we are offline. Let's try to synchronize them. So I'm sorry, I'm going back on my account. I'm going on the synchronize link. So here you can see the meeting minutes we've created. You can see that I've created some other contact as I had multiple meetings during that day, and you can see at the last the contact we've just created together. Of course, you could do that on any object of Salesforce as long as it's not too many information. So now, okay, we're entering an area with a much better 3G network coverage. So now you can see that the synchronize button appears, and I can send the information in Salesforce. Oh, I've got friends. In Salesforce, I can send both minutes and contact. Okay, now let's just check what we've just entered in Salesforce. So I'm going to see the recent contact, and here you can see appearing, if I have a Jerome Casta that we've just created together. So this application, which is hosted on Heroku, is providing you that simple functionality to enter minute meetings, opportunity, quotes, some basic information directly in Salesforce One without having to switch from an application to another one. Thanks a lot for your attention.
So, Jerome, how long did this take you to build?
Sorry?
How long did this take you to build the application?
It took something like 5 or 4 hours.
5 or 4 hours?
To build on
and this is also part of Salesforce Labs. So this is available?
This is currently in security review, but it's going to be available very soon.
Very soon. It will be available under Salesforce One Offline?
Exactly.
Is the name. So this is another application that'll be available for anyone it's open source applications on the Salesforce App Exchange at appexchange.com. And you can search for Salesforce One Offline, and it'll be a free application. And this is very fast to set up, too, as well.
Exactly. If you want to add, here we've got contact and minutes, but if you want to add like opportunity or the ability to create a quote offline, it could be done very, very quick.
Nice. Very cool. So is this something that, do you have this on for your Salesforce one, or for your Salesforce?
No, we're not using it right now.
Not in the 62 yet. We will need it. That's our internal Salesforce. Very cool. Well, thank you so much. This is fabulous. Do you want to tell us anything else about, you said you built on Heroku. Anything else about how you built this, what technology you used to build this?
It's basically Heroku, JavaScript, HTML5, Angulars, Bootstraps. I mean, the idea is really it can be built many ways.
Yes.
But here we've chosen Heroku. So the good point is that it's a 5-minute deployment. You just download it and everything is available.
5-minute deployment.
Everyone.
Nice.
In the company. So it's great.
Very cool. Let's give it up for Jerome. Thank you very much, Jerome.